Hi everyone, it's Jen again. Hope you had a good week. This marks the end of the third week of OtomeJam, and I can confidently say I'm in a good place right now. Everything has been moving ahead of schedule, and even when I feel like I didn't get that much done, like this week has been pretty busy at work, but I just keep working on it a little bit every day, and somehow magically I look back at the end of the week and be like, wow, I actually got quite a bit done. So, where did I leave off last Sunday? We finished Lawrence animations. We went ahead and made a tutorial.
Agent?
So when the player starts the game for the first time, there's going to be a persistent variable check to see if they've done the tutorial, and if they haven't done the tutorial, it's going to offer to send them to the tutorial, but the player can bypass the tutorial and just move straight to the main game story and mission. But you'll also be able to access the tutorial here from the main screen at any time.
Agent?
And I got a lot of playtesting feedback about the tutorial because I feel like the combat system, even though I tried to make it as simple as possible while still being able to incorporate certain mechanics that I wanted it to have, it's a bit... Well, it's confusing to people because it's not what you would expect from a typical turn-based RPG. So there's a lot of information to just kind of be 100% transparent with the systems, which I do want the player to understand how all the systems work in detail so that they can decide how much they want to incorporate that into their strategy. Like, I don't want any numbers to be a mystery, like where did that number come from, where did that number come from, why and how. So when you select the extended tutorial, it's pretty hefty. It's got like a breakdown of each one of these mechanics of the game. And I did try to show visuals along with that so that the player would have something to associate this text with. But it's still a decent amount. Let me just go through this to kind of show. It's still a decent amount to just, even that portion was just talking about the role of the Esper. Oops. Because it was kind of long, and I think a lot of people were just like, I don't want to read all this, I just want to jump into the game. But also just jumping into the game is pretty difficult to like not have any clue at all what to do during combat with the cards and everything. I decided to make a shorter version of the tutorial. So I personally don't think this version of the tutorial explains all the mechanics in depth enough to like challenge the boss of the level, but it will get you through the training bot, and it will get you through the minor aberrations. So this version just kind of gives a brief overview of the difference between like attack and support, and it gives you a quick and dirty just rule of thumb kind of strategy that like, oh, if you do this, it'll probably be a successful strategy most of the time. And the reason why I say most of the time is because with the advent of the boss, I purposefully wanted to make the boss easy to defeat if you're intentional, but almost impossible if you're not intentional, because that's a lot of what I'm designing this combat around, is that I want the player to be intentional and not just click on things willy-nilly and just kind of luck their way or superior stat their way through a victory. Again, the combat is not designed to be grindy. there is going to be a set number, a small amount of set encounters, and each encounter is a little bit unique, although the minor aberrations don't have a lot of variation, but they do have different stats. And so if you are following the mechanics of the game, you might have to adjust your strategy depending on what stats it has. So the practice bot here, you can skip the tutorial and
Assessing
just start
situation.
practicing against the bot. But the bot is designed to just give itself little buffs, which is going to booster its defense against astral attacks right now. So if I try to attack the bot with an astral attack, my astral attack is already lower than my corporeal attack, so I'm probably not going to do very good damage on it. Now, I did go ahead and try to condense the way the stats look here, because I did get some feedback that having the base stat, the Esper boost, the buff and debuff numbers all displayed at once, which a lot of time was like 0, +0, -0, was overwhelming and kind of distracting to have all those numbers. So it is going to just tabulate the totals, and when you get a buff, like let's go ahead and
I'm ready
buff
when
the
you
Esper
are.
here. We are going to
Take every advantage.
Now you can see it is buffing. The numbers haven't changed yet because getting the totals doesn't, the script doesn't run for that until like the end of the casting all the spells. So now we can see that it has the new numbers. We don't know how much of this is just from the buffs, but from the feedback I was getting, it was easier for people, I guess, not to have to add those numbers in their head and to just have the totals there, and it makes it a little bit cleaner. And then we can look at this and, I guess, more easily decipher that, hey, my corporeal stat and my order stat are the highest, so I should probably look for black and yellow cards. I didn't have a very good turn with that. Okay, let's try again. Okay, this is much better. Again, it's got a boosted astral stat, so this astral damage, even though my astral stat is buffed, is not high enough. But that's okay because we buffed the heck out of our corporeal and order stat. And still
Rinse
managed to
and
defeat
repeat,
one.
Agent.
One solid chain attack. Okay, so that's the tutorial. Now with the boss design, I had mentioned that I wanted it to be a very doable boss if you were intentional, but an almost impossible boss if you were unintentional. So the way that I designed this boss... Okay, I'm back. I've got my mic set up again, I think. So I should also preface that the boss is optional. I didn't want to make really difficult, I guess, roadblocks or gates in the game that would lock more story-oriented players out of content. So the player will get graded at the end of each mission, and their reward will be based on how much of like the optional content they were able to find and conquer. And so the boss is worth a lot of points, but you don't have to defeat the boss in order to progress through the story.
This should be good.
So this week I did animate the boss. The boss has very high social stats, so there's no advantage to be had. And then the boss is meant to train the player to be aware of all the mechanics that are going on. So right now, the boss did not attack. The boss buffed itself with both an astral buff, which boosted its astral stat, and it gave itself astral immunity, which means that it can't take any astral damage at all. Now the numbers here show that the astral boost is going to wear off in 2 turns, but the immunity is going to last 4 turns. This is an important distinction because let's say I just buffed the astral stat really high because I was like, well, I want the player to pay attention and understand that they're not going to be able to damage this boss with astral attacks. I could just buff the heck out of its astral stat and be like, well, that will give it immunity, but then it would probably one-shot the player. So why not just give the boss immunity and not give it a buff? The other mechanic that this boss has, the boss's name is Muse, and its dialogue was that it wants to inspire you. This boss, when it doesn't have any buffs on it at all, it will do this kind of random, it'll go between astral and corporeal, where it will buff itself with both a stat buff and immunity. However, once it is buffed, it won't take any actions except for mimic the player. So if I attack, this is a pretty terrible attack here. It's immune from astral damage, and it's inspired by me, and so it will turn around and attack me back. Which, while it's buffed, was an instant kill. Now, it won't always be an instant kill. It happened to use the astral attack, which its astral stat was buffed at the time, so that ended up being a one-shot.
Comes.
So that was kind of unlucky on our part. But the whole idea is that you don't want to attack it while it has a buff. So right now it's going to give itself a corporeal buff and corporeal immunity. And you can see that I tried to visually give the player some clues about that by changing the color of its feathers. So right now it's got the black feathers because it has a corporeal buff. Now, let's say we don't attack anything, or we don't use any attacks. And we just like go to
Only for my favorite Esper.
support skills. So let's go ahead and try doing a support card chain.
Oh, you're gonna love this one.
So it was inspired by us, and it went ahead and it changed its buff. My cat is sitting on my table again. Excuse me. But you'll notice that it does not have a astral buff, it only has astral immunity. So when you use support skills,
You called?
it will basically
They don't use it all at
switch
once.
its immunity, but it won't actually buff itself unless all the buffs run off on it. So its attack pattern isn't quite as scary. And you'll notice that it still hasn't attacked me because I haven't attacked it.
Only for my favorite
I can
Esper.
control which immunity it has by buffing myself. And it'll just keep switching between the two. Now, I personally would prefer to have an astral buff because my corporeal stat is higher. I think this is a good chance to attack it. It doesn't have an attack buff on itself, so when it counterattacks, I should be able to survive okay. I don't love this. I don't love these cards, so actually I'm just going to end turn. You can see it's watching me. So because I didn't attack, it didn't attack. You could just sit here and indefinitely just do nothing, and it would indefinitely do nothing, which in some meta version of the game world would mean that it actually won because it got to basically just monopolize your time for eternity. But anyways, I digress. Let's go ahead and try to attack it again. I wanted a Fury card, so I'm happy with that. I'm a little sad that I hit that Suffuse because that is not what I wanted, but let's try this. It's going to be immune to the astral damage. But that was a good hit on the Discord. Now it's going to be mad at me, and it's going to attack me. Oh, actually, it didn't attack me. I'll have to go check the script as to why it didn't attack me. I might have had a typo in there somewhere. Well, theoretically, it was supposed to attack me. Let's try to attack it again to see. Yeah, it attacked me that time. So I'll have to go back and check the script as to why it didn't attack me. But let's go ahead and
Aw, thinking of me?
go support. Now the other interesting thing that I can do is because, again, I have a lot of control over when the boss actually attacks me. I could say, well, I actually only want to use the support if I get 4 support cards. I could just end turn and recover 1 guidance. And this is gonna kind of just keep looking at me and breathing funny. And let's go ahead
Only for my
and
favorite Esper.
try again. No. Now its immunity did wear off, so that's why it changed colors. This is its kind of default palette here.
You called?
Now because its buffs ran off completely, it's going to go ahead and give itself that initial stat boost as well as the immunity. So I will have to wait for this to wear off before I attack it, but I do want to switch it back to Astro before I attack anyways.
Only for my favorite Esper.
So we are going to go ahead and use this. And actually this card will will dispel all buffs on the enemy as well. So we'll just use that
Hey, don't use it all at once.
to get rid of that. It won't dispel immunities though. Okay, now that he's back to an astral buff, we are going to be ready to attack it again. Whoops. I don't know why I keep messing up that. I'm not paying attention enough. And yay, we didn't take much damage from that. So I think we are good to go ahead and attack again. This should do it.
Hey, it's about time.
And that is how the boss works. Okay. Thanks for tuning in with me this week. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with how the strategy, or I should say the tactics for this game work. It is going to be a tactical card battling kind of system. So I'm going to try to make that apparent, like on the game page, that this is going to require a certain level of strategy, so that players who are looking for just a pure story-based game will be forewarned. Okay. Hope you have a good week, and as always, don't forget to enjoy the process. Bye.